My sister smiled at the cops while I stood there, 5 months pregnant, hands cuffed behind my back. She planted drugs in my car. She called them herself. And when I looked at my husband across the parking lot, I saw something in his eyes that made my blood run cold. Not anger at me. Something far worse. 3 days later, my sister's apartment was empty. No furniture, no clothes, no trace she ever existed. And my husband? He kissed my belly that night and whispered one word. Protected. I never thought my own blood would try to destroy me. But there I was, 5 months pregnant with my first child, standing in a police station parking lot with metal cutting into my wrists. My sister Thessaly stood 15 feet away, fake tears streaming down her face as she told officers I was dangerous, that I was dealing, that I was unstable. The drugs she'd hidden in my glove compartment, planted there while I slept, sat on the hood of the cruiser like evidence of a life I'd never lived. My baby kicked inside me as panic squeezed my chest. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Then I saw him, Marcellus, my husband, standing by his black Mercedes, phone pressed to his ear, watching everything with eyes like frozen steel. He didn't rush over, didn't shout. He just stared at my sister with a look I'd only seen once before, the night a rival family threatened our home. That's when I knew. Thessaly had no idea what she'd just done. She'd betrayed a pregnant woman. But worse, she'd betrayed his pregnant woman. And in Marcellus's world, that was a death sentence you couldn't lawyer your way out of. Listen, if you're already hooked on today's story and you can't wait to hear what happens, and I know you can't wait because this one is wild, then do these 2 things right now. Like and subscribe so you catch tomorrow's equally amazing story, and comment below with where you're watching from. The fluorescent lights of the grocery store parking lot burned into my eyes as Officer Mendez tightened the cuffs around my wrists. Metal bit into skin already swollen from pregnancy water retention. 5 months along and my body was a stranger. Thick ankles, tender breasts, a belly that made me waddle instead of walk. And now this. Handcuffs. In public. While my baby kicked like he was trying to punch his way out. "Ma'am, you need to calm down," Mendez said, but his voice sounded far away. Underwater. Everything felt underwater except the sharp reality of those cuffs and the even sharper reality of my sister standing 15 feet away, sobbing into her hands like she was the victim here. Thessaly, my baby sister. The one I'd helped raise after Mom died. The one who'd lived rent-free in my guest house for 8 months last year. The one who had a key to my car. I didn't know what else to do, she was telling the other officer, a woman with her hair pulled back so tight it looked painful. I've been worried about her for months. Ever since she got pregnant, she's been different. Paranoid, angry. I saw her taking pills. "I take prenatal vitamins," I tried to say, but my voice came out strangled. The baby kicked again, harder this time, like he could feel my panic. My doctor said stress hormones crossed the placenta. Said I needed to stay calm for his sake. But how do you stay calm when your own blood is destroying you? The female officer walked to the patrol car where my purse sat on the hood. Next to it, a clear evidence bag. Inside the bag, 3 small plastic containers I'd never seen before in my life. White powder. Pills. Things that could send me to prison for years. "These were in your glove compartment," she said, holding up the bag. "That's a felony amount of—" I've never seen those before. My voice broke. "I'm pregnant. I don't even take Tylenol because I'm scared it'll hurt the baby. Please. You have to believe me." But I could see it in their eyes. They didn't. Pregnant women did drugs all the time. Got arrested all the time. And here was my concerned sister, the good citizen, turning me in before I could hurt myself or my unborn child. It was a perfect setup. Textbook. That's when I saw the Mercedes. Black, sleek, expensive enough to turn heads even in Philadelphia's Rittenhouse Square, where money grew on trees and everyone pretended not to notice. It pulled into the parking lot slowly, deliberately, like a shark circling wounded prey. Marcellus? He got out of the driver's side, and even from 30 feet away, I could see the way his jaw was set. Not angry, something colder. He wore a charcoal suit that cost more than most people's monthly rent, and his phone was already pressed to his ear. He didn't look at me, didn't acknowledge the officers, or the handcuffs, or the evidence bag. He just stared at Thessaly with eyes like frozen steel. My sister didn't notice at first. She was too busy performing for the police, wringing her hands and explaining how she'd found the drugs while borrowing my car last week, how she'd been agonizing over whether to report me, how she'd finally decided she had no choice because she loved me too much to watch me destroy my life. Then she felt it. That stare. She turned, and I watched the color drain from her face. Marcellus still hadn't moved, still hadn't spoken to anyone but whoever was on that phone. But something in his posture made the air feel thinner, harder to breathe. "Who's that?" Officer Mendez asked, his hand moving toward his belt. "My husband," I whispered. Thessaly took a step backward, then another, like she finally understood what she'd done. Not just framing her pregnant sister, framing Marcellus Ravenna's pregnant wife. In his city, on his streets. While carrying his child, the baby kicked again, and this time it hurt. A sharp pain low in my belly that made me gasp. Braxton Hicks, probably. Stress contractions. My doctor had warned me about them. Said, if I wasn't careful, I could trigger early labor. "I need to sit down," I said, but no one was listening. Marcellus had ended his call and was walking toward us now, moving with that controlled grace that made him so dangerous. People thought mafia bosses were loud, aggressive. But Marcellus was quiet, precise. He never raised his voice because he never needed to. Officers, his voice was smooth, polite. "My wife has a medical condition. Gestational hypertension. If you keep her standing in cuffs much longer, she could have a stroke." I didn't have gestational hypertension, but the lie came out so smooth, so believable, that even I almost bought it. "Sir, your wife is under arrest for—" "I'm aware." Marcellus cut him off without raising his volume. "I'm also aware that she's 5 months pregnant, has no prior arrests, and you have no warrant. So either charge her right now or remove those cuffs before her blood pressure kills our son." The way he said "our son" made something in my chest crack open. Possessive, protective, final. Officer Mendez looked at his partner. She looked at Thessaly, who had gone completely white. Then back at me, sweating and swaying in handcuffs with a belly that made me look exactly like what I was. Vulnerable. Pregnant. Not a drug dealer. "We'll need her to come to the station for processing," Mendez finally said. "Of course." Marcellus's smile didn't reach his eyes. "I'll follow." They uncuffed me. My wrists were raw, red rings already forming. Marcellus caught me when I stumbled, his hand gentle on my lower back even though his eyes were still locked on my sister. She tried to approach, tried to hug me like this had all been some terrible mistake she was helping to fix. "Cressida, I'm so sorry, I just thought—" "Don't." Marcellus's voice was barely a whisper, but it stopped her mid-step. "Don't speak to my wife again, don't text her, don't call her. If I see you within 100 feet of her, you'll disappear." It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. And everyone in that parking lot knew it. 2 hours later, I was released. No charges, no explanation. The evidence had somehow been contaminated. The arrest report had irregularities. I walked out of the police station to find Marcellus waiting by the Mercedes, phone in hand, expression unreadable. "How?" I asked. He opened the passenger door for me. Later, I slid into the leather seat, my whole body shaking. My phone buzzed. A text from Thessaly. "You don't deserve that life." I showed it to Marcellus. He read it, deleted it, then pulled me close and kissed my forehead. "Yes," he said quietly, "you do." 3 days later, Thessaly's apartment was empty. The lawyers showed up at 7 in the morning. 3 of them. Expensive suits, leather briefcases, the kind of attorneys who charged $1,000 just to shake your hand. I stood in the doorway of our Rittenhouse Square brownstone in my bathrobe, belly stretching the silk fabric, and stared at them like they were aliens. "Mrs. Ravenna?" The lead one, silver hair, sharp eyes, extended his hand. "I'm Richard Castellano. We're here to handle your case." "I don't have a case," I said. The charges were dropped. Preventatively, he smiled like that explained everything. May we come in? I looked past them to where Marcellus sat in the living room, coffee in hand, reading the Philadelphia Inquirer like it was a normal Tuesday. Like our home hadn't just been invaded by lawyers I didn't hire and couldn't afford. Did you call them? I asked. He turned a page. Let them in, Cress. So I did. Because that's what you do when you're married to a man like Marcellus. You let the expensive lawyers in. You drink the coffee they bring. You listen while they explain that the arrest was problematic, and they're taking steps to ensure it never happens again. You nod. You sign papers. You pretend this is normal. But it wasn't normal. None of this was normal. After they left, I stood in the kitchen gripping the marble counter so hard my knuckles turned white. The baby was quiet this morning. Too quiet. I pressed my hand to my belly, waiting for movement. Needing it. He's fine, Marcellus said from behind me. You're tensing up. He can feel it. Don't tell me how my baby feels. The words came out sharper than I intended. I turned to face him. Who were those lawyers? Marcellus. The best in the city. I didn't ask how good they were. I asked who they were. Who you called. How you got me out in 2 hours when I should have been processed and booked and you should have been home. His voice was quiet. Deadly quiet. You should have been having dinner with me. Rubbing cocoa butter on your stomach. Reading those baby books you bought. Instead, you were in handcuffs because your sister is a vindictive. Don't. I held up my hand. Don't finish that sentence. Why not? It's true. She's still my sister. She tried to put you in prison while you're carrying my son. Marcellus set his coffee down with careful precision. In my world, that's not family. That's an enemy. The baby kicked then. Hard. Like he agreed. I gasped. And Marcellus was there instantly, hand on my belly, feeling the movement. His expression softened in that way it only did when he touched me. When he felt proof of the life we'd created. Let the law handle it, I whispered. Please. Just let the police investigate and… He kissed my stomach. Said nothing. Which was answer enough. That night, my phone rang. Thessaly. I stared at her name on the screen, my finger hovering over the decline button. But something made me answer. Maybe curiosity. Maybe the part of me that still remembered braiding her hair when she was 7. Teaching her to ride a bike. Holding her at Mom's funeral. Did you send people after me? Her voice was shaking. Not. Crying. Scared. What? No. Thessaly, what are you… Someone's following me. I see the same car everywhere. Black sedan, tinted windows, and my phone, someone hacked my phone. All my photos are gone. My messages. Everything. My blood went cold. I looked at Marcellus across the room. He was on his own phone, speaking in low Italian to someone. Not looking at me, but I knew. God help me, I knew. Thessaly, where are you? My apartment. I'm scared, Cress. I'm really scared. I know I messed up, okay? I know the arrest was stupid. I was angry. You have everything and I have nothing and I just wanted… You wanted to send me to prison? The anger surprised me. Hot and sudden. You wanted to take my baby's mother away before he's even born? Silence. Then quietly, I didn't think it through. No, you didn't. I pressed my hand to my belly. The baby was doing somersaults now. Active. Healthy. Alive. Stay in your apartment. Lock the doors. I'll talk to Marcellus. I hung up before she could respond. Marcellus had finished his call and was watching me now with those dark, unreadable eyes. Was that? She says someone's following her. Good. Marcellus. She planted felony amounts of cocaine in your car, Cressida. She called the police herself. She stood there crying while they handcuffed you in a parking lot. You could have gone into premature labor. You could have lost our son. His voice never rose, never wavered. So yes. Someone's following her, someone's documenting every move she makes, every person she talks to, every lie she tells, and when I have enough evidence to bury her legally, I will… This isn't legal. Neither was framing you. He was right. God help me, he was right. But something about it still felt wrong. Like we were crossing a line we couldn't uncross. Like once we started down this road, there was no turning back. The next morning, I found the envelope on Thessaly's doorstep. I wasn't supposed to be there. Marcellus thought I was at my prenatal appointment. But I'd rescheduled. Driven to her apartment complex in South Philly instead. Needed to see her face. Needed to understand why. But she wouldn't answer her door. So I stood there, 5 months pregnant and exhausted, staring at a manila envelope propped against her welcome mat. No name. No address. Just the envelope. I picked it up. Opened it. Photographs. Dozens of them. Thessaly, at the grocery store. Getting coffee. Meeting with some man in a suit I didn't recognize. Timestamps. Dates. Locations. Her entire life documented in glossy 8x10s. My hands shook. The baby kicked. And somewhere in that moment, I understood. This wasn't about justice. This wasn't about the law. This was about power, control, the kind of protection that came with a price tag I wasn't sure I wanted to pay. I left the photos on her doorstep, got back in my car, drove home. That night, Marcellus kissed my belly and whispered, "Protected," and I didn't know whether to feel grateful or terrified. The restraining order arrived on a Tuesday, hand-delivered by a process server who wouldn't make eye contact. I stood in our foyer holding the papers, reading words that didn't make sense. Petitioner claims reasonable fear of imminent harm. Respondent prohibited from contact within 500 feet. Respondent, that was me. The pregnant woman who'd been framed. And petitioner? Thessaly. My sister, who'd somehow convinced a judge that I was the threat. She's claiming you sent people to intimidate her, Marcellus read over my shoulder, his voice flat. Controlled. Says you've been harassing her, threatening her, that you're unstable due to pregnancy hormones. I couldn't breathe. The baby was doing somersaults, responding to the cortisol flooding my system. My hands shook so badly, the papers rattled. This is insane. I haven't contacted her since... I know. He took the papers from me gently. Too gently. Like I was something fragile that might shatter. She's escalating, trying to make herself look like the victim before we can expose what she did. Before you can expose it, you mean... I pressed my hand to my belly, trying to calm the frantic movements inside. This is because of the surveillance, the photos. She knows you're watching her, so she's protecting herself. Marcellus set the papers on the hall table. Smart. I'd do the same thing. Don't say that like you're impressed. My voice cracked. She's lying to a court, to a judge, and now I can't go near my own sister without getting arrested? Good. You shouldn't be near her anyway. He said it so casually, like family meant nothing, like blood ties were just inconveniences to be managed. Maybe in his world, they were. But in mine, in the world I'd grown up in, family was supposed to mean something. Even when they hurt you, even when they destroyed you. That night, I couldn't sleep. The baby was restless, kicking and squirming like he knew something was wrong. I lay in bed watching Marcellus's chest rise and fall, wondering how. He could sleep so peacefully when our lives were falling apart. Then again, maybe this wasn't falling apart to him. Maybe this was just Tuesday. At midnight, my phone lit up. A news alert. I almost ignored it. My doctor said screen time before bed was bad for the baby. But something made me look. Local woman speaks out. My sister married a monster. My blood turned to ice. I clicked the link. There she was. Thessaly. Sitting in some reporter's office. Makeup perfect. Voice trembling with manufactured emotion. Telling the world that I'd changed since marrying Marcellus. That he'd isolated me from my family. That she feared for my safety. And the safety of my unborn child. He runs with dangerous people, she said, dabbing at dry eyes with a tissue. Organized crime. Everyone in Philadelphia knows it, but no one talks about it because they're scared. I'm scared, but I can't stay silent while my sister is trapped in that world. The reporter ate it up, asked leading questions. Let Thessaly paint herself as the brave whistleblower standing up to the mafia. Me? I was the brainwashed wife, the victim who didn't know she was a victim. I watched the entire 7-minute segment twice. Then I threw my phone across the room. Marcellus was awake instantly, sitting up, hand already reaching for the gun he kept in the nightstand. What happened? She went to the news. My voice didn't sound like mine. It sounded hollow, defeated. She's on Channel 6 calling you a monster and me your prisoner. You need to see it. I retrieved my phone from where it had landed on the carpet, miraculously unbroken. Pulled up the video, watched his face as he watched her perform. His expression never changed. Not anger, not surprise. Nothing. When it ended, he handed the phone back. Get dressed. What? Why? Because you have a prenatal appointment in 8 hours, and I'm not letting you go in stressed like this. He was already out of bed, pulling on clothes. We're going for a drive. Marcellus, it's midnight. Get dressed, Cressida. So I did. Because arguing with him when he used that tone was pointless. I pulled on maternity leggings and one of his oversized sweatshirts, my belly stretching the fabric into a tent. Slipped my swollen feet into sneakers I couldn't tie anymore. Let him guide me out to the Mercedes. We drove through empty Philadelphia streets in silence. Past Rittenhouse Square, where old money lived, and pretended not to see the darkness in their neighbors' eyes. Past Society Hill, where historic brownstones housed modern criminals. Past South Philly, where Thessaly's apartment glowed with lights that shouldn't be on at midnight. Marcellus slowed the car, stopped across the street, and we both saw it at the same time. Flames, orange and hungry, licking up from the parking lot where a car used to be. Where Thessaly's car, her white Honda Civic with the dent in the passenger door, was now a burning skeleton. Black smoke poured into the night sky. No sirens yet. No witnesses. Just fire and metal and a message written in ash. Tell me you didn't do this. My voice was barely a whisper. Marcellus, tell me. He stared at the flames with the same empty expression he'd worn watching the news segment. I didn't do this. Then, who? Someone who saw that interview. Someone in my organization who thought they were protecting our family. He shifted the car into drive. Someone who acted without my permission? Oh God. The baby kicked hard, like he was trying to escape. Or maybe like he approved. I couldn't tell anymore. She's going to think it was us. She's going to tell the police it was us. Let her. Marcellus pulled away from the curb as the first sirens screamed in the distance. She has no proof. Just like she had no proof you were dealing drugs. Just like she has no proof I run anything besides real estate investments. In her world, feelings matter more than facts. But in mine, facts are the only things that keep you breathing. The prenatal appointment 6 hours later confirmed what I already knew. My blood pressure was elevated. Not dangerously high, not yet, but trending in the wrong direction. Dr. Okafor, a woman with kind eyes and steady hands, listened to the baby's heartbeat and frowned. He's healthy, she said. Strong. But you're not. Cressida, I need you to tell me the truth. What's causing this stress? Where did I even start? My sister framed me for drug possession. My husband might be having people intimidate her. Someone torched her car last night. I'm married to a man whose business associates commit arson without asking permission. I'm 5 months pregnant, and everything is falling apart, and I can't tell if I'm the victim or the villain anymore. Family issues, I said instead. Dr. Okafor's expression said she didn't believe me. Family issues that could put your baby at risk. You're showing signs of early contractions. Not labor, not yet, but Braxton Hicks that are too frequent. Your body is under extreme stress, and if we don't manage it, you could go into premature labor. The words hit like physical blows. Premature labor? My baby. My son. The only pure thing in this mess. What do I need to do? Reduce stress. Immediately. Whatever's happening in your life right now, it needs to stop. She printed out an ultrasound photo, my son's profile, one tiny hand near his face. He's counting on you to keep him safe until he's ready. Can you do that? I took the photo with shaking hands. Yes, but I wasn't sure if I was lying. Marcellus drove me home in silence. When we pulled into the garage, he turned off the engine but didn't move. Just sat there, jaw tight, staring at nothing. You heard what the doctor said. I clutched the ultrasound photo like a lifeline. This has to stop. Whatever you're doing, whatever your people are doing, it has to stop. It'll stop when she stops. His voice was cold, empty. When she stops lying, stops attacking you, stops trying to destroy our family. She's already destroyed. Don't you see? Her car is gone. She's terrified. She's planning her next move. Marcellus finally looked at me. Cress, people like Thessaly don't stop until they win or they're stopped. And I won't let her win. Not when winning means you in prison or our son born in a cell, or you so stressed you miscarry at 6 months. The baby kicked. Hard. Like punctuation. That night, I dreamed of fire. Of Thessaly's face in the flames. Of hands I couldn't see pushing me forward, telling me to watch. To see what protection looked like. To understand that in Marcellus's world, love and violence were the same word in different languages. I woke up at 3 a.m. to my phone buzzing. A text from an unknown number. Just 4 words and a photo. She's not done yet. The photo showed Thessaly outside a police station, talking to 2 detectives. In her hand, a folder thick with papers. On her face, an expression I'd never seen before. Not sadness, not fear, something sharper. Something that looked like determination or revenge. I showed Marcellus. He studied the photo for 30 seconds. Then he made a phone call in Italian. Low, rapid, final. When he hung up, he kissed my belly and whispered the word that used to comfort me, but now made my skin crawl. Protected. But protected from what? From Thessaly? From the law? From the truth? Or from myself? Tell me in the comments. Is Cressida wrong to let Marcellus handle this? Should she go to Thessaly herself and try to fix this before someone dies? Subscribe so you don't miss Chapter 4, where everything Cressida thinks she knows gets shattered. The burner phone was hidden behind law books. Criminal procedure, constitutional law, torts. The kind of thick leather-bound volumes that looked impressive in a home office, but no one ever actually read. Except I was reading them now, looking for something, anything, that might tell me how to get out of this mess without lawyers. Marcellus. Hired and judges he probably knew, in a system that felt less like justice and more like chess. That's when I saw it. A sliver of black plastic wedged between State v. Morrison and federal sentencing guidelines. Not a bookmark. Not a phone charger. A phone. My hands were shaking as I pulled it out. Cheap. Disposable. The kind you buy at gas stations with cash and throw away when you're done? The kind that can't be traced. I should have put it back. Should have walked out of that office and pretended I never saw it. But I was 5 months pregnant, with elevated blood pressure, and a sister who wanted me dead, and a husband who kissed my belly while people's cars burned. I needed to know. The phone had battery, 63%. No lock screen. I opened the messages. Marcellus. Sister problem escalating. Need permanent solution. Unknown. How permanent? Marcellus. Depends on next 48 hours. Prepare options. Unknown. Understood. Range. Marcellus. Intimidation to removal. Will advise. My vision blurred. The baby kicked. Hard, frantic movements that felt like panic. Or maybe that was my panic. I couldn't tell anymore where I ended, and he began. Removal. That's what Marcellus called making my sister disappear. Not murder. Not killing. Removal. Like she was a stain. A problem. Something to be erased. I scrolled further. More messages. Different numbers. All discussing the sister situation like it was a business deal. Surveillance reports. Movement logs. Known associates. Vulnerabilities. They'd mapped her entire life like a military operation. And at the center of it all, one name that kept appearing, the wife doesn't know. Or keep it that way. The wife. That was me. The woman he kissed goodnight. The woman carrying his son. The woman he protected by lying to her face. I was still holding the phone when he walked in. Marcellus stopped in the doorway, looked at the phone in my hands, at the messages on the screen, at my face, which probably showed every emotion I was feeling. Betrayal, horror, rage, fear. Cress, don't. I held up the phone. Don't you dare try to explain this. I wasn't hiding it from you. I was protecting you from what? The truth? From knowing that my husband is planning to murder my sister? My voice broke. The baby was doing somersaults now, responding to the adrenaline coursing through both of us. You said you were letting the law handle it. I said what you needed to hear. He stepped into the office, closed the door, like that made this conversation private, safe. Because you're 5 months pregnant with high blood pressure and stress-induced contractions. Because hearing the truth would have put our son at risk. So you lied. I protected you by planning to kill my sister. The words echoed in the book-lined room. Too loud, too real. I lowered my voice, but the fury stayed. She's awful. She's cruel. She framed me and lied about me, and I hate her right now. But she's still my sister, Marcellus. She's still my blood. She tried to put you in prison while you're carrying our son. He said it slowly, carefully, like I was stupid and needed simple words. Do you understand what that means? 9 months in county jail, no prenatal care, no proper nutrition, guards who don't give a damn if you're bleeding or cramping or going into labor. You could have lost him. You could have died. But I didn't, because I made sure you didn't. His voice never rose, never wavered. That's what made it terrifying. The absolute certainty. Because the moment she called those cops, she stopped being your sister. She became a threat, and I don't negotiate with threats. I eliminate them. The baby kicked again, softer this time. Or maybe I was just going numb. When? I whispered. When were you going to tell me? After Marcellus took the burner phone from my hands, gently, like it was fragile, like I was fragile. After it was done, and you were safe, and our son was born healthy. When the stress couldn't hurt you anymore? You mean when I couldn't stop you anymore? You can't stop me now, Cress. He said it without malice. Just fact. This is already in motion, has been since the arrest. The only question is how far it goes. Intimidation, relocation, permanent removal? That depends on what she does next. I sank into the leather desk chair, my belly making the movement awkward, ungraceful. What if I went to her? What if I talked to her? Maybe I could. She'd record you. Use it as evidence of harassment. Violate the restraining order she filed. He crouched in front of me, eye level now. Baby, she's not the sister you grew up with anymore. That girl died the moment she planted drugs in your car. The woman who's left, she wants to destroy you, and she'll use anything, your pregnancy, your love, your guilt, to do it. You don't know that. Yes, I do. He pulled out his real phone, pulled up a file, showed me the screen. It was a recording, audio only, but I recognized the voices immediately. Thessaly, and a man I didn't know. Man. So, you want her arrested? That's it? Thessaly. I want her humiliated. I want her life destroyed. I want that baby born in a cell where she can't pretend she's better than me anymore. Man, that's harsh. She's your sister. Thessaly. She was my sister. Now she's just the bitch who has everything I should have had. The recording ended. I stared at the phone, at proof that every fear I'd pushed down was true. When was this? My voice sounded hollow. 2 days before the arrest. She was talking to a dealer she thought could supply the drugs. Marcellus put the phone away. She planned this, Cress. Every detail. The timing. 5 months pregnant, vulnerable, but not too far along. The amount. Enough for felony charges, but not so much it seemed unrealistic. The performance for the cops, Oscar-worthy. She wanted you to lose everything. The baby most of all. I pressed both hands to my belly. Our son was quiet now. Maybe sleeping? Maybe just listening. Why? Jealousy. Resentment. Take your pick. Marcellus stood, his knees cracking. Getting older. We both were. Late 40s and having our first child and navigating a war I didn't sign up for. You have a life she wants, a husband with money and power, a baby coming, security, status. And she has what? A rental apartment in South Philly and a journalism degree she's never used. So we give her money, we help her. We don't kill her. We tried money. Remember? I offered her a job last year. $50,000 starting salary. She turned it down because she said she doesn't work for criminals. His laugh was bitter. But she'll commit felony fraud and attempted kidnapping? Those are fine, apparently. Kidnapping? He pulled up another file. This one was text messages. From Thessaly's phone to someone named Derek. Thessaly, once she's arrested, how long before Child Protective Services gets involved? Derek, depends. If she's charged with dealing while pregnant, immediate custody concerns. Thessaly, and if family members offer to take the baby? Derek, you'd have a good case. Especially if you can prove unstable home environment. Thessaly, trust me, I can prove it. I couldn't breathe. The room was spinning. She wasn't just trying to destroy me. She was trying to steal my baby, to take my son the moment he was born and raise him as hers, to erase me completely. I need air. I pushed past Marcellus out of the office, through the house onto the back terrace where cold November wind hit my face like a slap. The city spread out below. Philadelphia at dusk, lights coming on, people going home to normal lives where sisters loved you and husbands told the truth and babies grew safe in wombs that weren't weapons. Marcellus followed but didn't touch me. Just stood there, waiting. She really wants my baby. I said it to the city, to the wind, to God, if he was listening. She planned to take my son, yes, and you were going to kill her for it, yes, without telling me, to protect you, to protect him. Marcellus moved closer, put one hand on my belly where our son slept, unaware that his existence had started a war. In my world, Cress, you don't wait for threats to strike first. You eliminate them before they can hurt what you love. That's not cruelty. That's survival. The baby kicked against his palm. Strong. Healthy. Alive. And I realized with sickening clarity that Marcellus was right. Not morally right. Not legally right. But practically, undeniably right. Thessaly wouldn't stop. She'd escalate. And eventually, someone would get hurt. The baby. Me. Maybe even Marcellus. What happens now? I whispered. That depends on you. I turned to face him. What do you mean? I'm asking your permission. His dark eyes were steady, honest, terrible. She's your sister, your blood, and I won't take that choice from you. So I'm asking, do you want her to keep breathing? The question hung between us like smoke, like the flames from her burned car, like every choice that led us here. I thought about the arrest, the handcuffs, the fear, the baby kicking frantically while panic squeezed my chest. I thought about the recording, her voice, casual and cold. I want that baby born in a cell. I thought about the texts, her planning to take my son, to erase me, to win. And I thought about the future, about looking over my shoulder for years, about every knock on the door being police, every doctor's appointment shadowed by fear, every moment of my son's life tainted by his aunt's vendetta. I can't answer that, I finally said. I can't give you permission to. Then I'm not asking for permission. Marcellus pulled me close, my belly pressed between us, our son trapped in the middle of this decision. I'm telling you what's going to happen. She escalates again, threatens you, the baby, our family, and I remove the threat. Permanently. You don't have to agree. You don't have to forgive me. But you do have to accept it. And if I can't, then we'll deal with that when our son is born safe and healthy and she's no longer a problem. He kissed my forehead, my nose, my lips. I love you more than my own life, Cressida. But I love him more than both of us combined. And I won't let anyone, not your sister, not the law, not God himself, put him at risk. The baby kicked. Once. twice, 3 times. Like he was voting. And I realized, standing there in the cold Philadelphia wind with my husband's arms around me and my son moving inside me and my sister plotting in her empty apartment, that I'd already made my choice. I just hadn't admitted it yet. The alarm didn't go off. That was the first thing I noticed. Our house had 17 security zones, doors, windows, motion sensors, cameras that fed directly to Marcellus. His phone and some monitoring company in Center City that charged more per month than most people's rent. The alarm always chimed when doors opened. Always. Except tonight, it didn't. I woke at 2 a.m. to silence. The wrong kind of silence. The kind that made my skin crawl and my hand instinctively go to my belly, checking for movement. The baby kicked back sleepily. Alive. Safe. For now, Marcellus wasn't in bed. His side was cold. He'd been gone for a while. Probably downstairs in his office making calls he thought I couldn't hear. Planning things he thought I didn't know about. I'd spent 3 days since finding that burner phone pretending I didn't know what was coming. Pretending I could still stop it. Pretending my sister wasn't about to disappear. But tonight felt different. Wrong. I pulled on my robe, silk, expensive, barely closing over my 5-month belly, and walked to the bedroom door. Opened it. The hallway was dark. Too dark. The night lights we'd installed for safety weren't on. Neither were the soft security lights that usually glowed from the stairwell. Marcellus? My voice came out thin, scared, no answer. The baby kicked harder now. Frantic movements that matched my heartbeat. I pressed one hand to the wall, steadying myself, and started toward the stairs. Each step felt wrong. The house felt wrong. Like something had shifted while I slept. Like the walls were holding their breath. That's when I heard it. A sound from downstairs, not Marcellus's heavy footsteps. Something lighter, faster. Someone who didn't belong. I froze at the top of the stairs. Every instinct screamed to go back to the bedroom. Lock the door. Call 911. But what if Marcellus was down there? What if he was hurt? What if... Movement in the foyer below. A shadow separating from shadows. And then a voice I knew as well as my own. I know you're up there, Cress. Thessaly. My sister. In my house. At 2 a.m., with the alarm disabled, and my husband missing, and my baby kicking frantically against my ribs. We need to talk. My blood turned to ice. How did you get in here? Same way I got into your car. Her voice floated up the stairs, casual and cold. You never changed your security codes after I stayed here last year. Still using Mom's birthday. Really, Cress? That's just lazy. She stepped into the dim light from the street lamps outside. I could see her now. My baby sister. 44 years old and beautiful in that sharp, hungry way she'd always been. But there was something in her hand. Something that caught the light wrong. A syringe. What is that? I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. The baby was doing somersaults, responding to the adrenaline flooding both of us. Thessaly, what are you doing? Fixing a mistake? She started up the stairs. Slow, deliberate, like she had all the time in the world. I should have done this first. Should have handled the baby before I handled you. But I thought the arrest would work. Thought you'd lose him from stress, or they'd take him at birth, or... You wanted me to lose my baby? The words came out strangled. Disbelieving. Even after everything, the recordings, the texts, the evidence, some part of me still couldn't accept it. I wanted you to feel what I felt. She was halfway up the stairs now. Close enough that I could see her eyes, dead eyes, empty, watching you get everything I deserved, the rich husband, the perfect house, and now a baby at 47, when I've spent 15 years trying and failing? No, you don't get that. The baby kicked so hard it hurt, like he knew, like he was trying to tell me to run. Where's Marcellus? My voice shook. What did you do? Nothing permanent. Yet, Thessaly climbed another step, called in a tip about a fire at one of his properties on South Street. Anonymous. Urgent. The kind of thing a man like him has to handle personally. He left 20 minutes ago. Won't be back for at least an hour, which gives us plenty of time. For what? But I already knew. The syringe, the dead look in her eyes. The way she kept climbing toward me like a predator who'd finally cornered her prey. To end this pregnancy, she said it so simply, so casually, like she was talking about canceling dinner plans. 1 injection, you'll cramp, bleed, lose the baby naturally. Tragic late-term miscarriage, stress-induced, no one's fault. And then when you're destroyed and broken and empty, when you've lost the one thing that made you better than me, maybe then you'll understand. I took a step backward, then another, but there was nowhere to go. Just the hallway, the bedroom. No exit, no escape. You're insane. My hands were on my belly now, protective and useless. You're my sister. I'm supposed to what? Watch you win? Watch you have everything? She laughed, and the sound was broken glass. I'm 3 years younger than you, 3 years. But my whole life, I've been living in your shadow. Cressida the smart one. Cressida the beautiful one. Cressida who married the powerful man. And me? I'm just the sister, the backup, the one who doesn't matter. That's not true. Yes, it is. She screamed it. Actually screamed. And for the first time, I saw past the calculation to the real hurt underneath. The genuine pain of a woman who'd spent her whole life feeling second best. Mom loved you more. Dad left because of you. Dad left because he was an alcoholic. Everyone leaves because of you. Because you're perfect and I'm not. Because you deserve love and I deserve nothing. Tears were streaming down her face now, but her hand never wavered, never stopped climbing. So, I'm taking something from you, finally. I'm making you hurt the way I've hurt my whole life. She lunged. I screamed. Stumbled backward into the hallway. My pregnant belly made me slow, clumsy. She caught my arm, jerked me around, the syringe rising toward my stomach. And then the world exploded. Not literally, but it felt like it. Suddenly, there were men everywhere. Marcellus's security, 2 of them. 3. Coming from rooms I didn't even know they were in. Moving fast and silent and deadly, one grabbed Thessaly's wrist, twisting until the syringe clattered to the hardwood floor. Another had her in a headlock before she could scream. And behind them, walking up the stairs with terrifying calm, was Marcellus. He wasn't at a fire. There was no emergency. It had been a test. Bait. And Thessaly had taken it. Let me go. She was thrashing now, fighting the men who held her like they were made of stone. You can't do this. You can't. I can. Marcellus walked past her without looking, came straight to me, put his hands on my face, my shoulders, my belly, checking for damage, for harm, for any sign she'd succeeded. Are you hurt? Did she touch you? The baby. We're okay. I couldn't stop shaking. The baby was still kicking frantically, responding to my heart rate, my fear, my absolute terror. The alarm. You turned it off. You knew she was coming. I knew she'd try eventually. Tonight just confirmed it. His jaw was tight, fury barely contained. He finally looked at Thessaly, and the expression on his face made my blood run cold. You broke into my home, threatened my wife, tried to kill my son. He's not your son yet. She choked on the words as one of the security men tightened his grip. Her face was turning red. Purple. Marcellus. I grabbed his arm. Don't. Just call the police. Let them. The police? He laughed. Actually laughed. Baby, she disabled our security. Broke a restraining order. Came here with a weapon to commit assault and attempted murder. The police would take hours to arrive. Hours where she could hurt you again. Hours where our son is at risk. He turned to his men. Take her to the basement. Make sure she understands what happens to people who threaten this family. No! Thessaly's scream was animal. Raw. Cressida, please. I'm your sister. Tell him to stop. Tell him. But I couldn't speak. Couldn't move. The baby was kicking so hard now it felt like he was trying to escape. To get away from the violence and the screaming and the sister who wanted him dead. Marcellus crouched in front of me, eye level. I need you to tell me something. Right now. And I need you to mean it. What? My voice was barely a whisper. Do you want her to keep breathing? The question hung in the air. The same question he'd asked on the terrace. But this time, it was different. This time I'd felt her hands on me. Seen the syringe. Heard her say she wanted to end my baby. This time it wasn't theoretical. It was survival. I looked past Marcellus to where Thessaly hung between two men, crying and begging and finally understanding what she'd done. What she'd become. I'm sorry. She sobbed. Cress, I'm sorry. I wasn't really going to do it. I just wanted to scare you. I wanted you to understand how I felt. Please, please, don't let him hurt me. But I remembered the recording. I want that baby born in a cell. I remembered the texts. Plans to take my son. To raise him as hers. I remembered the syringe in her hand. The dead look in her eyes. The absolute certainty that she was going to kill my child. She tried to murder our baby. I said it to Marcellus. To the room. To God. To myself. She broke into our home and tried to murder our son. Yes. His voice was soft. Patient. Waiting for my answer. The baby kicked. Once. Twice. 3 times. Like he was asking me to choose. Asking me to protect him the only way I could. No. The word came out broken. Final. I don't want her breathing. Thessaly's scream cut off as one of the men put a hand over her mouth. Marcellus stood. Kissed my forehead. My belly. Then turned to his security. You know what to do. They dragged her away. Down the stairs. Through the house. I heard a door open, the basement probably, and then close. And then silence. Just me and Marcellus and the baby kicking frantically inside me. I need to sit down. My legs gave out. Marcellus caught me, guided me to the bedroom, onto the bed. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. What are they doing to her? What are they... Explaining consequences. He sat beside me, one hand on my belly, feeling our son move, teaching her that some lines, once crossed, can't be uncrossed. You're going to kill her. Not a question, a statement. Yes. When? After you fall asleep. After your blood pressure stabilizes. After I'm certain this hasn't put you into early labor. He was monitoring the baby's movements now, counting kicks, timing intervals. Professional. Clinical. Like he'd done this before. Dr. Okafor said stress could trigger premature labor. So we're going to focus on you and him. Everything else is just logistics. Logistics. I laughed, and it sounded hysterical even to my own ears. My sister tried to kill my baby, and you're calling her murder logistics. What would you call it? I don't know. The tears came then, hot and fast and unstoppable. I don't know what to call any of this. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know if I'm the victim or the villain or just someone who stood by while her husband committed murder. You're a mother. Marcellus pulled me against his chest, careful of my belly. You're a mother who protected her child. That's all. That's everything. The baby kicked in agreement. Or maybe he was just responding to my elevated heart rate. I couldn't tell anymore. Couldn't tell what was survival instinct and what was becoming a monster. I gave you permission to kill my sister, I whispered into his chest. Yes, that makes me complicit. That makes you a survivor. He tilted my face up, forced me to look at him. Cress, she was going to kill our son. Not hypothetically, not theoretically. She was 3 seconds away from jabbing a syringe into your belly when my men stopped her. 3 seconds. And if I hadn't set this trap, if I hadn't been watching, she would have succeeded. He was right. I hated that he was right. But he was. What was in the syringe? I had to know. Had to understand exactly what I'd just condemned her for. Misoprostol, high dose, enough to trigger contractions and miscarriage at 5 months. His voice never wavered. She bought it online, had it shipped to a P.O. box, researched dosages, practiced injections on oranges. This wasn't impulse, Cress. This was premeditated attempted murder of our child, not just my baby, our son, the life we'd made together, the future we were fighting for. I lay back on the bed, exhausted. The baby was finally settling, his movements becoming slower, more rhythmic. Maybe he felt my decision. Maybe he understood that I'd chosen him, would always choose him. I love you, Marcellus said quietly. And I love him. And I will do anything, cross any line, break any law, destroy any threat, to keep you both safe. That's not evil. That's not wrong. That's what protection looks like in my world. And lying there, 5 months pregnant with my sister screaming in the basement and my husband planning her murder, I finally understood. Protection and violence weren't opposites. In Marcellus's world, in my world now, they were the same thing. I fell asleep to the sound of the baby's heartbeat on the fetal Doppler Marcellus kept by the bed. Strong, steady, alive. When I woke up 8 hours later, Thessaly was gone. The coffee tasted like ash. Or maybe that was just my mouth, my soul. Hard to tell anymore. I sat at our kitchen island watching November rain streak down the windows, my hands wrapped around a mug I hadn't drunk from in 20 minutes. The baby was quiet this morning. Sleeping, probably. Conserving energy, like he knew his mother needed him to be still for a while. Marcellus was on the phone in his office. Had been since 6 a.m. I'd heard fragments through the door as I passed. Logistics, cleanup, confirmations. Words that used to mean nothing and now meant everything. Words that meant my sister was gone. Really, completely, permanently gone. I couldn't cry. That was the worst part. I kept waiting for tears. For grief. For the crushing weight of what I'd done. But all I felt was empty. Hollow. Like something essential had been scooped out and replaced with nothing. You need to eat. Marcellus appeared in the doorway, fresh from his shower, wearing a navy suit like this was a normal Thursday. Like last night hadn't happened. The baby needs calories. I'm not hungry. I didn't ask if you were hungry. I said you need to eat. He opened the refrigerator, started pulling out eggs, cheese, vegetables, started cooking like he did this every morning, like we were a normal couple having a normal day. Dr. Okafor said your blood sugar needs to stay stable. I watched him crack eggs into a pan. Efficient, precise. The same hands that had ordered my sister's death, now making me breakfast. The duality should have terrified me. Maybe it did. I couldn't tell anymore. Where is she? The question came out flat, emotionless. Gone. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're getting. He plated the eggs, set them in front of me with a fork. Eat. I stared at the food. My stomach rolled. I can't. Yes, you can. Because our son needs you healthy and strong and not spiraling into guilt over a woman who tried to murder him. Marcellus sat across from me, his dark eyes steady. She made her choice, Cress. She broke into our home with a weapon. She tried to end your pregnancy. And when given multiple chances to stop, to walk away, to get help, to be family, she chose violence. You didn't make her do any of that. But I made you kill her. No, she made me kill her. You just stopped trying to save someone who didn't want to be saved. He pushed the plate closer. Now eat. Before I call Dr. Okafor and tell her you're refusing food, I ate. Not because I wanted to, not because I could taste anything, but because he was right. The baby needed fuel, needed his mother functional even if she felt broken. My phone buzzed, a text from a number I didn't recognize. I opened it and my blood went cold. It was a screenshot, an email, from Thessaly's account, sent this morning at 5:43 a.m. Subject, new chapter. Dear everyone, I've decided to take a position abroad, teaching English in Barcelona. It's something I've wanted to do for years, and recent events have made me realize life is too short to keep postponing dreams. I'm leaving immediately, so I won't be able to say goodbye in person. Please don't worry. I'm happy. This is what I need. Love, Thessaly. The message had been sent to our extended family, our aunt in Boston, Thessaly's few friends, her former boss at the newspaper, everyone who might ask questions about where she went. You sent this. I showed Marcellus the screenshot. From her email, one of my people did. After we accessed her accounts, he said it so calmly, so matter-of-factly. Thessaly was a freelance journalist who'd been talking about moving abroad for years. It's believable. No one will question it. And her apartment? Cleaned out last night. Furniture donated. Lease terminated. Security deposit returned to her bank account, which she then used to buy a one-way ticket to Spain. He stood, took my empty plate, rinsed it. As far as anyone knows, your sister is starting over in Europe. Happy, healthy, out of touch, because she's busy with her new life. It was perfect. Airtight. The kind of planning that came from experience. From having done this before. How many, I whispered, how many people have you disappeared? Does it matter? Yes. He dried his hands on a towel, studied me for a long moment. 7. Over 15 years. All threats to my family or my business. All people who had chances to walk away and didn't. 7 people. 7 families with missing daughters, sons, sisters, brothers. 7 graves that weren't graves. 7 lies that became truth because no one questioned them. I'm married to a serial killer. I said it to test how it sounded, how it felt. You're married to a protector. Marcellus came around the island, stood behind me, put his hands on my shoulders. There's a difference. Is there? Serial killers kill for pleasure, for power, for the high. His thumbs dug into the knots in my neck, working them loose. I kill to eliminate threats. It's not personal, it's not emotional, it's math. She threatened our family, she had to be removed. That's all. The baby kicked. A soft flutter. Agreement? Protest? I pressed my hand to the spot, feeling the tiny foot or hand push back. What if someone asks questions? My voice shook. What if police investigate? What if they won't? Thessaly had no close friends, no boyfriend, no kids. No reason for anyone to look too hard when they get an email saying she moved. His hands moved to my belly, feeling for movement. And even if they did look, they'd find plane tickets, bank transactions, social media posts, all showing a woman excited about her new life. Nothing suspicious. You've thought of everything. I always do. My phone buzzed again. Another text. This time from our Aunt Linda. So happy for Thessaly. Spain will be good for her. Tell her to send pictures. More messages followed. Everyone believed it. Everyone was happy for her. No one questioned the sudden move or the convenient timing. Why would they? People started over all the time, especially people who seemed restless, unhappy, looking for something they couldn't find at home. Thessaly had been all those things, which made the lie perfect. I need air. I stood too fast. The room spun. Marcellus caught me, steadied me, but I pulled away. I can't breathe in here. I can't. Let's walk. He grabbed my coat, the expensive cashmere one he'd bought me last month. That barely closed over my belly and guided me out to the back terrace. Cold November air hit my face like a slap. I sucked it in, desperate for something real, something clean. The city stretched out below. Philadelphia, in the rain. Gray and cold and indifferent to the violence happening in its expensive neighborhoods. Somewhere out there, Thessaly's body was. I couldn't finish the thought. Where did you put her? I had to know. Needed to know, if only so some part of me could mourn properly. Cress? Where? Marcellus was quiet for a long time. Then quietly, the Delaware. Waited, deep, she won't surface. The Delaware River, where we'd taken walks when we first started dating, where he'd proposed on a boat at sunset, where tourists and locals fished and kayaked and never imagined what was below. I'll never be able to look at that river again. My voice broke. Never be able to drive past it without knowing, yes, you will. Because you're stronger than you think. Because you're a survivor. Because you'll do it for him. His hand covered mine on my belly. The baby kicked against both our palms. Alive. Thriving. Worth everything. In a few months, We'll take walks along the river with our son in a stroller. And you won't think about her. You'll think about how close you came to losing him, how she almost took him from you. And you'll know you made the right choice. Will the first? I turned to face him. Rain was starting to fall harder now, soaking through my coat. Or will I spend the rest of my life wondering if there was another way? If I could have stopped you? If I'm as much a monster as she said I was? You're not a monster. He said it with such certainty, such absolute conviction. Monsters don't feel guilt. Monsters don't question their choices. Monsters don't cry in the shower because they can't reconcile protection with violence. You heard that? I hear everything. He pulled me close, careful of my belly. And I'm telling you right now, you're allowed to grieve her. You're allowed to hate what happened. You're allowed to hate me for doing it. But you're not allowed to blame yourself. She made every choice that led here. You just stopped pretending she'd change. The baby kicked hard, insistent, like he agreed, like he understood that his mother had saved his life last night by making an impossible choice, a choice I'd have to live with forever. That afternoon, I found myself in what would be the nursery. We'd just started decorating, soft gray walls, white furniture, a mobile with clouds and stars that Marcellus had bought before we even knew the gender. I sat in the rocking chair we'd assembled together, one hand on my belly, and tried to imagine holding my son in this room, feeding him, loving him, watching him grow. Would he ever know what his mother had done to protect him? Would he understand that love and violence weren't opposites but partners in survival? Or would he grow up safe and happy and normal, never knowing the price of his existence? My phone rang. Dr. Okafor. I almost didn't answer. But pregnant women didn't ignore their doctors. Cressida, I need you to come in today. Her voice was professional but concerned. Your blood pressure readings from your home monitor are concerning. I'm fine. Your BP was 145/95 this morning. That's not fine. That's preeclampsia territory. She paused. What's going on? And don't tell me it's just family stress. This is serious. I looked around the nursery, at the crib where my son would sleep, at the changing table where I'd tend to him, at the future we were fighting for. I'll come in, I said quietly. Give me an hour. When I hung up, Marcellus was in the doorway. I'll drive you. I can drive myself. I know you can. But I'm driving you anyway. He came into the room, knelt in front of the rocking chair, put his hands on my belly. I won't let you do this alone. Any of it. The guilt, the fear, the consequences. We're in this together, even though I'm the one who has to live with it. We both live with it, every day, for the rest of our lives. He kissed my stomach. But we live with it together, with him, as a family. Family. The word used to mean Thessaly. Used to mean blood and history and obligations. Now it meant this. Marcellus and our son, and choices I couldn't unmake. Dr. Okafor confirmed it. Preeclampsia, early stages. Manageable if I reduce stress immediately. Dangerous if I didn't. I need you on modified bed rest, she said, reviewing my chart. No heavy activity, lots of water, blood pressure checks 3 times a day. And Cressida? I need to know what's causing this. Because if we can't eliminate the stressor, I'm admitting you to the hospital. I looked at Marcellus, at the man who'd killed my sister to protect our son, the man I loved and feared and needed all at once. It's handled, I said quietly. The stress, it's handled now, and somehow, terrifyingly, that was true. The bed rest was supposed to help. Modified, Dr. Okafor called it, which meant I could get up to use the bathroom and shower and eat meals at the table if I kept them short. Everything else, work calls, errands, cooking, cleaning, was forbidden. Marcellus hired a nurse who came twice a day to check my vitals and a cook who prepared meals I couldn't taste and a housekeeper who moved through our home like a ghost. I had everything I needed, except the ability to stop thinking about what I'd done. It had been 3 weeks since Thessaly disappeared. 3 weeks of lying in bed watching my belly grow while my sister's body decomposed at the bottom of the Delaware River. 3 weeks of family members texting updates about her life in Barcelona. Photos? Marcellus's people had faked using old pictures and Photoshop. 3 weeks of pretending everything was fine while something inside me rotted. The baby was thriving. That's what Dr. Okafor said during my last ultrasound. Strong heartbeat, good size, moving well. All the medical markers said he was healthy. That the modified bed rest was working. That eliminating the stressor had saved his life. But what about mine? I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, one hand on my belly, feeling him kick. Each movement should have brought joy, relief, proof that I'd made the right choice. Instead, all I felt was emptiness, like I'd traded my soul for his survival. Like I was hollow except for the life growing inside me. You need to eat. The nurse, Patricia, middle-aged efficient, stood in the doorway with a tray. Grilled chicken, steamed vegetables, brown rice, all the nutrition a pregnant woman needed and none of the comfort. Your blood sugar's dropping. I'm not hungry. Mrs. Ravenna, we've had this conversation every day for 3 weeks. She set the tray on my lap with practiced firmness. You need calories for the baby, for your blood pressure, for... I know what I need. The words came out sharper than intended. Patricia's expression didn't change. She'd probably dealt with worse from high-risk pregnancy patients. I'm sorry, I can't taste anything anymore. Depression can do that. She adjusted my pillows, checked the blood pressure cuff on my nightstand. Have you considered speaking to someone, a therapist? Your doctor can recommend... I'm fine. You're not fine. You're a woman on modified bed rest who stopped engaging with your pregnancy. That's not fine. That's concerning... Patricia sat on the edge of the bed, her voice softening. Mrs. Ravenna, whatever you're dealing with, guilt, fear, anxiety, it's affecting your health. And your baby's health. You need to talk to someone before it gets worse. But how could I talk to anyone? What would I even say? I gave my husband permission to kill my sister, and now I can't stop seeing her face every time I close my eyes. I can't stop wondering if she screamed when she died, or if it was quick, or if she understood why. I can't stop thinking that I'm a murderer who just outsourced the job. I'll think about it. I lied. After Patricia left, I forced myself to eat 3 bites of chicken. The baby rewarded me with a kick. Strong, insistent, like he was telling me to try harder, to be better, to survive this for him. I was scrolling through my phone, avoiding news, avoiding social media, avoiding anything real, when I saw the invitation. A fundraiser for the Philadelphia Children's Hospital, Black Tie Gala, December 15th. 3 weeks away. The kind of event Marcellus and I usually attended together. The kind of thing that mattered in his world of appearances and alliances. The kind of thing I couldn't imagine facing right now. Marcellus appeared in the doorway like he'd been summoned by thought. You're supposed to be resting, not stressing over your phone. There's a fundraiser next month. The Children's Hospital Gala. I know. I RSVP'd no for both of us. He came into the room, loosened his tie, still in his work clothes, charcoal suit, white shirt, the costume of legitimacy. You're on bed rest. We're not going anywhere. What if I want to go? He studied me for a long moment. Why would you want to go? Because I'm tired of lying in this bed thinking. The admission surprised me as much as it seemed to surprise him. I'm tired of being alone with my thoughts. Tired of counting kicks and checking my blood pressure and pretending I'm fine when I'm not. Maybe getting out would help, or it would stress you out and spike your blood pressure and put our son at risk. Marcellus sat on the bed beside me, his hand automatically going to my belly. The baby kicked against his palm. Cress, I know this is hard. I know you're struggling. But 3 more months of bed rest is better than delivering at 6 months because you pushed too hard. I'm not asking to run a marathon. I'm asking to attend one event, sitting down, in a ballroom, with you, surrounded by people who'll ask questions. Where's your sister? How's the pregnancy? Are you feeling okay? His voice was gentle but firm. You can't handle those questions right now. Not without breaking. He was right. God help me, he was right. But the thought of 3 more months in this bed, in this room, with nothing but guilt and kicks and the ghost of my sister haunting every quiet moment. I can't do this. My voice cracked. I can't just lie here for 3 more months pretending everything is fine when I feel like I'm dying inside. When every time I feel him kick, I think about what I did to protect him. When I can't sleep because I see her face. When I can't eat because everything tastes like ash and guilt and... Okay. Marcellus pulled me against his chest, careful of my belly. Okay, we'll figure something out. Therapy. Medication if Dr. Okafor clears it. Whatever you need. I need to not be a murderer. The words came out muffled against his shirt. I need my sister back alive. I need to undo what we did. And since I can't have any of that, I don't know what I need. He held me while I cried. Silent, shaking sobs that seemed to come from somewhere deeper than my chest. The baby kicked frantically, responding to my distress. Even he knew something was wrong. Even my unborn son understood that his mother was breaking. You didn't murder anyone. Marcellus said it quietly, firmly. You made an impossible choice in an impossible situation. You chose your child's life over your sister's hatred. That's not murder. That's survival. Then why does it feel like I killed her? Because you loved her. Because she was your sister. Because grief and guilt don't care about logic or necessity. He tilted my face up, forced me to look at him. But here's what else is true. She tried to kill our son. She broke into our home with a weapon designed to end your pregnancy. If my security hadn't stopped her, you'd be in a hospital right now bleeding out a 6-month fetus. Or worse, you'd be dead from complications and he'd be dead and she'd be free. That's the alternative, Cress. That's what you prevented. I knew he was right. Logically, rationally, I knew every word was true. But logic couldn't touch the guilt. Couldn't reach the part of me that still remembered braiding Thessaly's hair when she was 7. Teaching her to ride a bike? Holding her at Mom's funeral. The part of me that had loved her before she became a monster. Or maybe before I became one. Dr. Okafor approved a therapist. Virtual sessions, twice a week from the comfort of my bed. The therapist, Dr. Chen, warm eyes, patient voice, specialized in prenatal trauma and complicated grief. She asked careful questions about my family history and my pregnancy and my stress levels, never asking directly about Thessaly, never pushing too hard, but she knew. Somehow, she knew something terrible had happened. Something I couldn't talk about. Something that was eating me alive. Guilt during pregnancy is common, she said during our 3rd session. Especially for women experiencing complications. They blame themselves for the bed rest, for the high blood pressure, for every problem that arises. They feel like they're failing their baby before he's even born. What if it's more than that? I stared at my belly, watching it shift and move as the baby rolled. What if the guilt is justified? Justified guilt is still guilt. It still needs to be processed. Doctor. Chen leaned forward slightly on the screen. Cressida, whatever happened, whatever you think you did or didn't do, you're allowed to feel complicated emotions about it. You're allowed to grieve, to be angry, to struggle, but you're not allowed to let it destroy you. Not when you have a baby depending on you to be healthy. What if being healthy means forgetting? What if I have to choose between processing this guilt and keeping my blood pressure stable? Then we find a middle path. We create space for the grief without letting it overwhelm you. We acknowledge what happened without dwelling on it constantly. She paused. But first, you have to tell me what happened. You have to say it out loud. I couldn't. The words stuck in my throat like broken glass. How could I tell her that I'd given permission for my husband to kill my sister? That somewhere in Philadelphia, people were living their lives while Thessaly's body decomposed in cold water? That I'd traded one life for another and couldn't decide if I was a murderer or a mother or both? I can't, I whispered. I can't say it. Then just tell me this. Are you safe? Is your baby safe? Yes. And the person who caused you harm, are they still a threat? I thought about Thessaly at the bottom of the river, about the emails saying she'd moved to Barcelona, about the family members who believed she was happy and starting over and finally living her dream. No, I said quietly. They're not a threat anymore. Then you did what you had to do, to protect yourself and your child. Whatever that was, whatever it cost, you survived. And now you get to learn how to live with that survival. But that was the problem. I wasn't sure I knew how. That night, I woke at 3 a.m. to the baby kicking. Hard, rhythmic movements that wouldn't stop. I pressed my hand to the spot, trying to soothe him, but he just kicked harder, like he was trying to escape. Like he knew what I'd done and was trying to get away from the woman who'd killed her own sister to protect him. "I'm sorry," I whispered to my belly, to my son, to the life I'd saved by destroying another. "I'm sorry you're stuck with a mother like me. You deserved better." The baby kicked again, softer this time. Or maybe I was just imagining patterns in random movements. Maybe I was losing my mind along with my soul. Marcellus found me crying in the nursery at 4 a.m., just sitting in the rocking chair in the dark, hands on my belly, tears streaming down my face. "Come back to bed." He didn't ask what was wrong, didn't try to fix it, just offered his hand. "I don't think I can do this." The admission hurt more than I expected. I don't think I can be his mother. Not like this. Not with this guilt. Yes, you can. Because you don't have a choice. He pulled me up gently, guided me back to our bedroom. "In 3 months, he's going to be here, real, crying, needing you, and you're going to love him so much that this guilt, this weight you're carrying, it won't matter anymore. It'll still be there, but it won't be bigger than him." How do you know? Because I've carried guilt for 15 years. Every person I've removed, every choice I've made, it's all still there. But it's not bigger than you. Not bigger than him. He laid me down, pulled the covers up, put his hand on my belly. "We don't get absolution, Cress. We don't get to feel clean and pure and innocent. We just get to protect what we love and learn to live with the cost." The baby kicked against both our hands. Alive. Healthy. Worth everything and nothing all at once. And I understood. Finally, terribly, I understood. I would carry this guilt forever. Would see Thessaly's face in every quiet moment. Would wonder if there had been another way. But I would also hold my son. Watch him grow. Love him with everything I had left. Even if what I had left was stained and broken and hollow. Even if I'd become the monster my sister always said I was. 7 months pregnant. I stood in front of the full-length mirror in our bedroom, staring at a woman I barely recognized. The dress was emerald green silk, custom-made to accommodate my belly, which had gone from discreet bump to undeniable announcement. My face was fuller. My breasts were enormous. My entire body had become a vessel for the life growing inside me. But it was my eyes that looked most different. Harder. Colder. Like something essential had died and been replaced with something that knew how to survive. "You look beautiful." Marcellus appeared behind me in the mirror, adjusting his bow tie. Black tuxedo. Diamond cufflinks. The uniform of Philadelphia's elite. "Are you sure you're ready for this?" The Children's Hospital Gala. I'd convinced Dr. Okafor to clear me for one night out. Sitting only, minimal stress, home by 10. She'd agreed, reluctantly, noting that my blood pressure had stabilized in the past month. That the therapy seemed to be helping. That maybe carefully controlled social interaction might actually be beneficial. She didn't know that I'd stopped crying 2 weeks ago. That the guilt had settled into something cold and manageable. That I'd learned to compartmentalize the way Marcellus did, putting Thessaly's death in a box I only opened when absolutely necessary. I'd learned to survive what I'd done, which might be worse than breaking. "I'm ready," I said. And meant it. The gala was at the Rittenhouse Hotel, elegant, expensive, the kind of place where Philadelphia's old money mingled with its new corruption. We arrived fashionably late, my hand on Marcellus's arm, moving slowly because 7-month pregnant women didn't rush. The ballroom glittered with chandeliers and champagne and women in dresses that cost more than cars. I used to feel out of place at these events, like an imposter playing dress-up in someone else's life. But tonight, walking through that ballroom with my husband and my belly and my secrets, I felt like I belonged, like I'd finally earned my place among people who smiled while hiding bodies. Cressida. "Oh my God, look at you!" Amanda Whitmore, wife of a real estate developer Marcellus did business with. Her eyes went straight to my belly. "You're glowing. When are you due?" "February." I smiled. "Practiced." Perfect. It's our first. How exciting. And how are you feeling? I heard you'd been on bed rest. Modified bed rest, high blood pressure. But it's under control now. I touched my belly, felt the baby kick in response. He's healthy. That's all that matters. We made small talk, the kind of meaningless conversation that filled these events. Amanda asked about nursery colors and baby names and whether we'd hired a night nurse. I answered with the enthusiasm expected of a first-time mother, never mentioning that I'd spent the past 2 months in bed processing the fact that I'd had my sister killed. Marcellus's hand tightened on mine. A warning? Support? Hard to tell anymore. More people approached. More questions about the pregnancy. Congratulations. Well wishes. Everyone was so happy for us. So excited about the baby. No one asked about Thessaly. Why would they? She'd moved to Barcelona. Started over. Was living her dream. The lie had become truth through repetition. Even I almost believed it sometimes. We were seated at a table with 6 other couples, all people in Marcellus's orbit. Developers, lawyers, a judge whose campaign he'd funded. Their wives, polished and smiling and probably just as complicit as I was in whatever their husbands did to maintain power. We were all the same, all pretending, all protecting the lives we'd built on foundations of violence and money. So tragic about that girl who went missing last month. The judge's wife, Caroline something, was on her 3rd glass of wine. The one from South Philly. They found her car burned out. No body, no leads, just gone. My blood ran cold. Thessaly's car. They were talking about Thessaly. I heard she had mental health issues, another woman chimed in. Drug problems. Probably ran away to escape predators. Not Thessaly. A different girl. Relief and shame hit simultaneously. Relief that they weren't talking about my sister. Shame that I'd felt relief about someone else's tragedy. Philadelphia's getting worse every year, Caroline continued. Thank God we live in Rittenhouse. At least here we're safe. Safe. I almost laughed. These people had no idea what safety cost, what it required, what it looked like when you peeled back the elegant veneer and saw the violence underneath. Marcellus's hand found mine under the table, squeezed. A reminder that I wasn't alone in this performance, that we were doing this together. The dinner was salmon, overcooked. I ate it anyway, aware that Patricia would ask about my nutrition, aware that the baby needed fuel, aware that survival meant going through the motions even when you felt dead inside. Excuse me. A man's voice? I looked up to find someone standing at our table. Mid-40s, sharp suit, familiar face, I couldn't quite place. Marcellus Ravenna? Marcellus's expression didn't change. Can I help you? Detective Marcus Reeves. Philadelphia PD. He showed a badge. My heart stopped. I was hoping I could ask you and your wife a few questions. Regarding Thessaly Thorne, the table went silent. 6 couples watching. Waiting. The baby kicked frantically, responding to my sudden spike in adrenaline. My sister? I heard my voice say. Calm. Confused. Perfect. Has something happened? Is she okay? That's what we're trying to determine. Detective Reeves pulled out a small notebook. When was the last time you spoke with her? Marcellus stood smoothly. Detective. My wife is 7 months pregnant with high blood pressure. If you have questions, you can call our attorney and schedule a proper meeting. Not ambush us at a charity event. I'm not ambushing anyone, just following up on a few inconsistencies. Reeves looked at me. Your sister sent emails saying she moved to Barcelona, but there's no record of her entering Spain. No passport scan. No flight manifest. Almost like she never actually left Philadelphia. The world tilted. Or maybe that was just my blood pressure spiking. The baby kicked harder now, frantic movements that bordered on painful. That's impossible. I stood too, Marcellus's hand supporting my elbow. She sent emails, photos. She's been messaging our family. Has she called? Video chatted? Met with anyone in person since she allegedly left? Reeves watched my face carefully. Because we've traced those emails. They all originated from IP addresses in Philadelphia, not Spain. Marcellus stepped between us. We're done here. You want to talk to us? Go through our lawyer. He handed Reeves a business card. Richard Castellano. He'll be happy to schedule something after my wife delivers, after her health is stable. Not before. Mr. Ravenna, if you or your wife know anything about Thessaly Thorne's whereabouts, we know she moved to Barcelona to teach English, just like she told everyone. Marcellus's voice was ice. Now, if you'll excuse us, my pregnant wife needs to sit down before she passes out. He guided me away from the table, through the ballroom, out to a quiet hallway where I could breathe. My heart was racing. The baby was going crazy. I pressed both hands to my belly, trying to calm him, but he just kicked harder. They know. I couldn't catch my breath. The police know she never left. They're investigating. They're going to find nothing. Marcellus pulled out his phone, texted someone rapidly. Castellano will handle it. Reeves is fishing. He has suspicions but no evidence, no body, no proof. Just emails that could have been sent from anywhere using a VPN. He said they traced the IP addresses. He's bluffing. Trying to get a reaction. Marcellus put his phone away, cupped my face in his hands. Cress, listen to me. You did nothing wrong. You're a pregnant woman whose sister moved abroad. That's all you know. That's all you'll ever know. Understand? I nodded. But inside, I was screaming. We left the gala early. My blood pressure was through the roof. Patricia confirmed it the moment we got home. 160/98. Dangerously high. She called Dr. Okafor, who ordered strict bed rest for the next week minimum. What happened tonight? Patricia asked while taking my vitals for the third time. You were doing so well. Your pressure's been stable for a month. What changed? Stress. The word tasted like ashes. Like lies. Like everything that had become my life. Just stress. That night, I couldn't sleep. Kept replaying Detective Reeves's words. No record of her entering Spain? Almost like she never actually left Philadelphia. They were investigating, looking for evidence, looking for proof, and eventually, they'd find something. Or someone would talk, or the emails would stop being convincing enough. Eventually, the truth would surface. Just like Thessaly's body might surface if the weights failed, or the river shifted, or God decided I'd carried this guilt long enough. They're going to find out. I said it to the darkness, to Marcellus beside me, to the universe that seemed determined to make me pay. They're going to prove I'm a murderer. No one's going to prove anything. Marcellus rolled to face me, his hand finding my belly in the dark. The baby was finally quiet, worn out from hours of frantic kicking. Reeves is a good detective, persistent. But he's working a missing person case with no body, no witnesses, and a victim who sent emails saying she was fine. He's got nothing. What if he finds something? He won't. Because there's nothing to find. His voice was absolute. Certain. She's gone, Cress. Completely. Permanently. And you're safe. Our son is safe. That's all that matters. But it wasn't all that mattered. What mattered was that a detective knew something was wrong. What mattered was that the lie was fraying. What mattered was that I'd spent 2 months learning to live with guilt, only to discover that the guilt might actually destroy me anyway, not through conscience, but through consequences. The baby kicked, once, soft, like he was asking me to hold on just a little longer, just until he was born, just until he was safe. So I pressed my hand over Marcellus's hand over my belly, and I made a promise. To my son, to myself, to whatever was left of the woman I used to be. I would survive this. The investigation, the guilt, the lies. I would survive it because he needed me to. Because I'd already paid too high a price to fail now. Because I'd become something new, something harder, colder, more dangerous than I'd ever imagined. I'd become a woman who could look a detective in the eye and lie without flinching. I'd become a woman who could smile at a gala while her sister decomposed in a river. I'd become Marcellus's wife. Really, truly, completely. And that transformation, more than anything, was what scared me most. The contractions started at midnight. I woke to a tightening sensation low in my belly. Not painful yet, just present. Insistent. The baby had been quiet all evening, conserving energy probably, and now my body was waking up to the reality that 8 months of waiting was about to end. Marcellus, I shook his shoulder. It's happening. He was awake instantly, already reaching for his phone to time the contractions. How far apart? I don't know. This is the first one. Another tightening. Stronger this time. My hand went to my belly automatically, feeling it harden under my palm. Should we call Dr. Okafor? Not yet. First labors take hours. We have time. But he was already out of bed, already moving through the routine we'd discussed 100 times. Bag packed. Car ready. Route to Pennsylvania Hospital memorized. Unless your water breaks. If that happens, we go immediately. The contractions stayed irregular for 3 hours. 10 minutes apart. Then 15. Then 8. I walked the halls of our brownstone, trying to speed things along. One hand on my belly, one hand on the wall for support. Marcellus followed like a shadow, timing everything, watching for signs of distress. At 4 a.m., something changed. The contractions got harder. Closer. 5 minutes apart. Then 4. The pain wasn't unbearable yet, but it was building, cresting like waves, each one taking more effort to breathe through. We're going. Marcellus had the bag already. Was helping me into my coat. Your blood pressure's a risk factor. I'm not taking chances. The drive to Pennsylvania Hospital took 12 minutes. 12 minutes of contractions in the car, my hand gripping the door handle. Breathing through each wave, while Marcellus drove with terrifying calm. He'd been in car chases, shootouts, police raids. Labor was just another emergency he could control. Except he couldn't control this. Neither could I. Dr. Okafor met us in triage, her face serious as she checked my vitals. Blood pressure was elevated, not dangerous yet, but climbing. Cervix was dilated to 4 centimeters. Active labor. No turning back now. We're admitting you, she said. Given your history with pre-eclampsia, I want you on continuous monitoring. 4 fluids. Blood pressure checks every 15 minutes. Any spikes, and we're talking emergency C-section. Emergency. The word hung in the air like a threat. They moved me to a labor and delivery room, private, expensive, the kind of room where Philadelphia's elite gave birth in controlled comfort. Marcellus stayed close, his hand in mine, his eyes tracking every monitor. Every number, every flicker of concern on the nurses' faces. The contractions got worse. 5 centimeters. 6. 7. Each one felt like my body was trying to turn itself inside out. I'd read about labor pain, taken the classes, watched the videos. None of it prepared me for this, for the way it consumed everything, for the way nothing existed except the pain and the brief respites between waves. You're doing great. Marcellus wiped sweat from my forehead. Just a little longer. But it wasn't a little longer. It was hours. 7 centimeters became 7.5. Progress slowed, stalled. The baby's heart rate started showing concerning patterns, decelerations, during contractions that made Dr. Okafor's expression tighten. He's not handling labor well, she said quietly, and your blood pressure is climbing. 170 over 102. If we can't get it down in the next hour, we're doing a cesarean. No. The word came out strangled. I can do this. I can push him out. Just give me another contraction. Harder. Longer. The monitor screamed as my blood pressure spiked. 180 over 105. Dangerous territory. Stroke territory. We're out of time. Dr. Okafor was already moving. Prep for emergency C-section. Now. Everything happened fast after that. Consent forms. Anesthesia. The operating room's harsh lights. Marcellus in scrubs beside me, his hand gripping mine, his eyes showing fear for the first time since I'd known him. Real fear. The kind that came from understanding he couldn't control this. Couldn't fix it. Could only watch. I'm scared. I said it so quietly, only he could hear. I know. But you're not doing this alone. He kissed my forehead, my lips. Whatever happens, we're together. You, me, and him. Always. The anesthesia kicked in. My lower body went numb. I could see Dr. Okafor working behind the blue drape but couldn't feel anything. Just pressure. Movement. The knowledge that they were cutting me open to save my son. Almost there, Dr. Okafor said. I can see his head. He's got a lot of hair. Hair. Our son had hair. The detail felt surreal. Important. Like knowing he had hair made him real, in a way 8 months of kicks hadn't. Then I heard it. A cry. Weak at first, then stronger. Angry. The sound of a baby who'd just been pulled from the only world he'd known into harsh lights and cold air. It's a boy. Dr. Okafor lifted him up. 7 pounds, 3 ounces. Perfect. Perfect. I stared at him. Red, wrinkled, covered in white vernix, absolutely perfect. My son. The life I'd protected. The reason I'd crossed every line I'd ever drawn. They cleaned him quickly, checked his vitals, then brought him to me. Laid him on my chest. Skin to skin. His tiny body against mine. His dark eyes, Marcellus's eyes, blinking up at me like he knew me. Like he'd been waiting for this moment. Hi, baby. My voice broke. Hi, I'm your mom, and I love you, and I'm sorry for everything I did to keep you safe. I'm sorry, and I'd do it all again. Marcellus was crying, or actually crying. Silent tears streaming down his face as he touched our son's head. His tiny hand, his perfect fingers. What's his name? The nurse asked, ready to complete the paperwork. We discussed names for months. Traditional Italian names from Marcellus's family. Strong names, names that meant something. But looking at our son, at this perfect, innocent life we'd created, none of them felt right. None of them acknowledged what he'd cost, what we'd sacrificed, what I'd become. Dante, I said it without thinking, without planning. Dante Ravenna. Dante? From the poet who wrote about descending into hell and emerging transformed, from the journey through darkness toward redemption. Marcellus understood immediately. Dante, he repeated. It's perfect. The next hours blurred together. Recovery, monitoring, nurses checking my blood pressure, which had stabilized after delivery, Dante nursing for the first time, his little mouth finding my breast instinctively. The golden hour, they called it, this first time together, this foundation of bonding. But all I could think about was Thessaly, about how she'd tried to prevent this moment, how she'd wanted me to lose him, how I'd had her killed to protect this perfect innocent baby who had no idea what his existence had cost. What are you thinking? Marcellus asked. He was holding Dante now, rocking him gently, natural and confident in a way I hadn't expected. That she'll never meet him. The truth hurt. My sister. She'll never know him. Never see what she tried to destroy. She made that choice when she came after you. His voice was gentle but firm. When she chose hatred over family. When she tried to kill an innocent life because she was jealous. She chose that, Cress. Not you. I chose to let you kill her. You chose to protect your son. There's a difference. Was there? I looked at Dante, sleeping now, peaceful, unaware of the violence that had surrounded his creation. He was innocent. Pure. Everything I wasn't anymore. A detective came by earlier. Marcellus said it casually. Too casually. Reeves, asking questions about visiting hours, when you'd be receiving guests. My blood ran cold. He's still investigating? He's persistent. But he's got nothing. No body, no evidence, just suspicions. Marcellus stood, brought Dante back to me, laid him in my arms. And now you have something more important to focus on. Our son, our family, our future. I looked down at Dante, at his perfect face, his tiny fingers wrapped around mine, his chest rising and falling with each breath. And I understood something I hadn't before. I'd spent 2 months drowning in guilt. wondering if I was a monster, questioning every choice, but holding my son, feeling his weight, his warmth, his absolute dependence on me. The guilt didn't disappear. It just became manageable, bearable, because this was what I'd fought for. This moment, this life, this future. 3 days later, we brought Dante home. The nursery was ready, gray walls, white furniture, the mobile with clouds and stars rotating gently above the crib. I sat in the rocking chair, nursing him, watching his eyes drift closed, and felt something shift inside me. I wasn't the woman I'd been 8 months ago. That woman was naive, soft, believed family meant unconditional love and protection came without cost. That woman would have kept trying to save Thessaly, would have been destroyed in the process. The woman I was now understood that some people couldn't be saved. That protection required sacrifice. That love and violence weren't opposites, but two sides of the same desperate need to keep what mattered most alive. I was a mother now, which meant I was capable of anything. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I almost ignored it. But something made me look. Detective Reeves here. Would like to schedule a follow-up interview regarding your sister. Please contact me at your earliest convenience. I stared at the message, at the threat it represented, at everything it could take away. My freedom, my son, my life. Then I deleted it. Who was that? Marcellus asked from the doorway. No one important. I looked down at Dante, still nursing peacefully. Just someone who doesn't understand that some questions don't need answers. Marcellus smiled. Proud, relieved, like I'd finally passed some test I didn't know I was taking. That's my girl, he said quietly. And he was right. I was his girl now. His wife, his equal, his partner in every sense, including the violent one. 2 weeks later, Detective Reeves closed Thessaly's case, officially listed as a voluntary missing person who'd relocated abroad. No evidence of foul play. No reason to investigate further. The family accepted it. The city moved on. Life continued. And I sat in the nursery at 2 a.m., rocking my son, whispering promises into his sleeping face. I'll protect you forever, from everyone, from everything, no matter what it costs, no matter who I have to become. My tears fell onto his blanket. You're safe now, baby. You're safe because I made sure of it. Because I chose you over everything. Even over myself. Dante stirred, made a small sound, settled back into sleep, and somewhere deep in the Delaware River, my sister's body stayed hidden, silent, proof of what a mother would do when pushed to choose between blood and the blood she was creating. I'd made my choice. I'd live with it forever. But I'd live, and so would he. That was all that mattered. Did Cressida become the villain? Or was this survival? Drop your comments below and tell me what you think. Subscribe for more stories where love, violence, and motherhood collide in ways you'll never forget.